How did you get out when you got locked in a sinking car? I woke up to freezing water pouring through the door seals and my head throbbing where it had hit the steering wheel. The car was tilting forward at a steep angle, and I could hear the hiss of air escaping as lake water rushed in through every gap. My seatbelt was jammed, and the driver's side window was spiderwebbed, but not broken. Through the cracked glass, I could see nothing but black water and the faint glow of my headlights illuminating silt clouds. I tried the door handle, and it wouldn't budge. Water pressure on the outside was already too strong. I was trapped in a sinking car with maybe 2 minutes before it went under completely, and I had no memory of how I got here. The last thing I remembered was leaving the courthouse after testifying against my former partner Dominic Carver for evidence tampering. He'd looked at me across the courtroom with pure hatred and mouthed the words, "You're dead." I'd walked to my car in the parking garage, feeling nervous but telling myself he was in custody and couldn't touch me. Now I was sinking into a lake, and my brain was screaming that this wasn't an accident. The water was up to my chest and rising fast. I reached for my phone, but the cup holder was empty. No phone. No way to call for help. The car's electronics were dead, so the windows wouldn't roll down. I forced myself to think through the panic. Standard advice for sinking cars was to wait until the pressure equalized, then open the door, but I didn't know if I had enough time for that. The water was so cold it felt like knives against my skin, and my fingers were already going numb. I needed to break a window, but the safety glass was designed not to shatter easily. I looked around for something heavy, and my hand found the metal tire iron wedged under the passenger seat. Someone had put it there deliberately. Someone had planned this. I grabbed the tire iron and swung it at the driver's side window with everything I had. The glass cracked deeper but didn't break. I hit it again and again while the water rose to my shoulders. On the fifth hit, the window finally shattered outward and lake water exploded through the opening. The force knocked me back against my seat, and suddenly the car was filling twice as fast. I just accelerated my own drowning, but at least now I had an exit. I sucked in the last pocket of air near the roof and pulled myself toward the broken window. My seatbelt was still jammed and holding me back. I sawed at it with a jagged piece of window glass cutting my palm open, but finally feeling the belt snap free. The water was over my head now, and the car was still sinking fast. I pulled myself through the broken window and felt glass tear through my jacket and into my side. The pain was immediate and sharp, but I kept moving because staying meant dying. I was out of the car and swimming upward, but I couldn't see anything in the murky darkness. My lungs were already burning, and I had no idea how deep I was or which way was actually up. Then I saw light above me, faint and distant, but definitely light. I kicked harder, ignoring the pain in my side and the way my limbs were going heavy from cold. My head broke the surface, and I gasped in air so cold it hurt my throat. I was in the middle of a lake surrounded by darkness, with lights from a distant shore maybe 200 yards away. The current was pulling me sideways, and I could feel blood from my side wound making the water around me warm. I started swimming toward shore using a side stroke that wouldn't aggravate the cut. Every few strokes I looked back to see if anyone was coming to help, but the shore was dark and empty. Nobody had seen me go in. Nobody knew I was here. I swam for what felt like an hour but was probably 10 minutes. My arms felt like concrete, and my legs barely responded to my commands. The cold was shutting my body down piece by piece. My hand hit mud, and I pulled myself onto the shore, collapsing in the shallows. I lay there shaking violently and trying to catch my breath. I could see my car's headlights still glowing underwater about 50 yards out, getting dimmer as it sank deeper. I needed to get warm and get help, but I was in the middle of nowhere with no phone and no idea where I was. I stood up and immediately felt dizzy. Blood loss and hypothermia were a bad combination. I pressed my hand against the cut on my side and started walking along the shoreline looking for lights or a road or anything. After 20 minutes, I saw a small fishing cabin with a truck parked outside. I stumbled toward it and pounded on the door. An old man opened it, holding a flashlight, and his eyes went wide when he saw me. He said, "Jesus Christ, what happened to you?" I said, "Car accident. I need to call police." He pulled me inside and wrapped a blanket around my shoulders, then handed me his phone. I dialed 911 and told the dispatcher I'd been in a car accident at Mercer Lake and needed police and ambulance. The dispatcher asked if I was injured, and I said yes, but I'm out of the water. She said help was on the way and to stay on the line. The old man, whose name was Floyd, brought me a towel and asked if I wanted coffee. I nodded, and he disappeared into his kitchen. I sat on Floyd's couch, shaking under the blanket and replaying everything in my head, and that's when I remembered. To see the full story, click the link below or go on my channel.